shadow in the government's game. Pawn as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place I could call home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call. All the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the hound, I'm never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hell on beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a tailhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Hello, everybody. My name's Henry. Welcome back. Tonight I'm going to be telling you the story about Lazarus. Now, Lazarus was born to a rich family. They had lots of farms up in northern Illinois. Way up north there. Well, by all accounts, he was a happy-going little baby. Didn't cry much. They watched him, nursed him, and they kept preaching to him that just because you was born a fortunate baby, that there is people less fortunate than you. And it don't make you any better that you was born into wealth. So don't put anybody down. Everybody's equal. So he grew up being told this, and it stuck with him through life. Anyway, as he grew up, got to the age of courting, his dad pulled him to the side one day while they was out there looking the fields over, and he told him about the birds and the bees. He said, "You're getting up there in courting age. you need to go out there and find you a woman, because me and your mama won't always be around. Be nice if you had your own family before we passed. Not that we're trying to rush you, but, getting up there. So, next few weeks, Lazarus thought about it. And by all accounts, he was a handsome man. So, he decided he'd go to some hay rides and maybe some barn dances and see what he could catch. Well, he was a real easygoing man. And you know what they say. Snakes seem to find easy targets. Well, he put off that bite, but he was an easy target. And a lady found him. Much like old Lilith. She started acting like she was real interested in him, and she had kept hanging around, and finally he give in, and they started courting. Well, after quite a while of courting, the day came when he got down on his one knee and asked her to marry him. Well, she wholeheartedly accepted real fast before he changed his mind. Well, he went home and told his mom and dad that he'd asked to marry her, and she gladly agreed real quick. Well, whatever reservation they may have had, they just seemed to kind of step back and let nature take its course. Well, they bought another big farm, had a fairly new house on it. Wasn't long, him and her moved in there. Well, with any bad romance or anything, there are signs. But they always say when you're standing in the fire, you can't see the flame. Same goes with old Lazarus there. He didn't see it either, till it was too late to do anything about it. Well, they started right to work on a family. They had a little boy and a little girl. Lazarus, he got along with all of his neighbors and people around, and they all liked him. They all knew that if they run into some kind of problem, whether it be financial or just needed an extra hand, that he'd go right over there and jump right in and help. If it was financial, he'd gladly give them the money and they'd pay him back whenever they could. He was all right with that. The way his parents taught him. Well, anytime money was loaned, his wife would just have a shit fit. What are you doing loaning them money? They can work just like you do. It's like they just hit a bad bump in the road and I'm just helping them out. Well, you should keep that money for here. He'd just kind of smile and walk outside like, you haven't a clue. You just greedy. But he never did say that. See, he was happy-go-lucky. The world could end right there, and he would die with a smile on his face. That's how easygoing he was. He put up a lot of flack from her for the loaning somebody money that's less fortunate. But he kept doing it anyway, knowing that he was going to catch hell. She was going to raise hell and put a chunk under it. But Lazarus would rather help people than be a snob like her. Even though he was married to her. Loved her to death, that don't mean he agreed with her. Well, more time had passed, and Lazarus started running out of steam real quick when he was working. Sometimes people would catch him out there by the barn, and he'd have his hand up, leaning against the barn, sicker than a dog. Somebody would come up and ask him, "You all right?" "Oh, yeah, I'm fine. He never let on that he was sick. Even if he'd just puked right there. He'd say, it's just some kind of bug. But everything's cool. Well, people kept noticing it. "You ought to go see a doctor." No, what would I go see a doctor for? I'd just waste his time. He got busy work doing stuff for other people that really needs it. Well, come a time when old Lazarus was found out there, sick as a dog. When doctors showed up and they rolled up his sleeves, they seen these great big sores on him. Then they pulled his pant legs up and seen big sores there and cuts, and it was all infected and just really bad. So they was going to call an ambulance to come get him. He said no. And go no doctor. Y'all got better things to do. He kind of laughed. Doctor said, "You don't realize the seriousness of this. We need to go run tests and things." He said, "Who's going to tend to the farm?" He said, "Daddy and Mom died. Now it's just me and the workmen I got here. This farm can't run without me." It's like, "You ain't going to be doing nothing." He said, "Well, I don't care, but I ain't leaving. I got work to do. Got a family to support. Now come on. You got more money than most people around. He said, "You got to save those pennies for a rainy day." He said, "Well, we'll at least run a few tests on you, and you can come right back home. We'll bring you back." So they took him in, run some tests, and he went back home. Doctor come out to the house. "We told you to wait until we find out what to test." He said, "Well, how long would that have took?" And he worked from a few days to maybe a week. He goes, "No, I ain't got time for all that." They said, "Well, then you're going to have to stay in bed because you're going to die. If you want to recuperate until we figure out what this is, you're going to have to stay in bed." He said, "Well, I'll stay in bed. Could you send and I'll pay for it, can you send a in-home nurse?" And while you're at it, Doc, can you check around to see if there's any people that want a job and kind of help my wife clean house and stuff? He said, I'll take care of it. Don't you worry about it, I'll take care of it. Well, as time went on, he got worse. All of a sudden, they got the results of the test, and it was bad. And the doctor told him so. He said, if you don't stay in bed, you will die. Choice is yours. You either stay in bed, take this medicine, get some rest, or you're a dead man. Just so you know. It's up to you whether you heal or not. Well, how long will it take? Don't know, but whatever it takes, you're going to have to do it. Okay. That's fine. Well, the in-home nurse keeps coming out and taking care of him, and house cleaners come out and help his wife clean the house because they got 2 little kids. Well, as time went on, you don't always get better before you get worse before you start coming back. Well, time went on, he got sicker and sicker. And they'd try this medicine, they'd try that medicine, and just seemed like nothing quite worked. Well, got to where he'd go in and out of consciousness. Sometimes it was for an hour, sometimes it was overnight, and sometimes a few days. They kept a close eye on him. Sometimes when he'd wake up, he'd look around and, is everything okay? And everybody around there would be like, yeah, everything's fine. Well, the going under, in and out of consciousness got longer. And his wife had it in her head he was going to die. And she was going to have to sit there and listen to him until he died. And he wasn't doing nothing wrong other than just trying to recuperate. She wasn't going to deal with that. She wanted her a man that could get up and go and buy her clothes and cars. So, she done what most any snake does. During one of those spells, she was packing up toys and packing up clothes. Made sure her car, brand new car, was in good condition. And she loaded those 2 kids up and her stuff. Nobody was there. House cleaners went home because they got their job done. In-home nurse went home for a few hours. She left old Lazarus there. Not caring if he lived, died, or what. Just left the man. Well, neighbors started finding it kind of weird that there wasn't no housekeeper going there, wasn't no nurses going there. So after a couple of days, they decided to go check on old Lazarus. Well, when they got there was Lazarus. He had messed up the bed with urine and feces because he couldn't get up and move. Well, they started trying to clean him up, and they called the ambulance service to come get him. There he was. The wounds had not been redressed. It couple days. So the pus and stuff, blood and stuff was seeping through him. His legs had gotten worse because now, laying in that bed in that feces was all over his body. So that made more sores. Well, ambulance showed up and doctors, and he was like, "Where's my wife?" They said, "Don't worry about that right now. We got to get you to the hospital. You're very critical." "Where's my wife? Where's my kids?" There was a note on the table. It was a Dear John letter. He wasn't going nowhere until he found out, make sure they was okay. Well, finally the doctor told him that she left you a note, a Dear John letter, and she took the kids and left. Something happened to him at that moment. Something inside of him broke. So they loaded him up, took him to the hospital, and he was in there quite a long time. But when he did start recuperating, they let him go home. Had an in-home nurse come back, and come to find out, when she left, she fired them. So they got everything going again and got nurses to come out and house cleaners to come out. While he was somebody to stay there 24/7 with him. Well, it took a long time to start healing. And he healed slowly. Even though he was a young man, he still healed slowly. But he didn't let that get him down. The only thing that got him down was his wife leaving him and taking the kids, and didn't even bother to have a reason to tell him. She just waited for him to be incapacitated and took off. That woman didn't care if he lived or died. A damn shame. But that does happen. So, over a period of time, he started healing and got to where he could manage to take care of himself, but he still needed a housekeeper. And once a week, in-home nursing would come by and check on him, take a temperature and all that good stuff, you know. Well, he paid the housekeepers over wages just to take a couple days off. House will be okay. He told the in-home nurse, he said, "I'm up good enough now." He said, "Take a couple days." So, they did. Well, during this time, sometime during the night, Lazarus packed up a couple changes of clothes. He left that farm and began wandering southward. Wasn't sure on where he was going, but why he was incapacitated, in and out of consciousness. You can call it an angel or whatever. Kept talking to him and showing him visions of this small town south of where he was at. He had no clue how far south, but he had a vivid image of it right there in his old noggin. Well, as he traveled southward, he'd stop at city limits from a town and he'd look it over. No, that's not the image I seen in my head. He'd venture on through. Come to the next town, he'd do the same thing. He'd stand outside the city limits, whether it be nighttime, daytime, whatever. And he'd look it over. As he walked through it, he'd be looking real close. Nope. Not this town either. But he believed in what he seen while he was incapacitated. He didn't know why he was supposed to be there. But something urged him to keep going. And every town he passed through, this same little voice in his head kept telling him, nope. Go on through, keep going. Well, eventually, he made it to a small Midwestern town, farming community. He stood outside of them city limits there, and it was probably between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. He looked. Now, this is looking familiar. So as he ventured on in town, this is the places I've been seeing. And something told him right up here in his head, this is the town. So he went to a boarding house. Lights was lit up there on the front. Welcome, open, 24/7. He went up there and rang the doorbell. And the person answered the door. They looked him up, down. Get. No room here for you. You go on or I'll call the cops. He just smiled. Thank you. Sorry to bother you. He just turned, go down to the next boarding house. There's a big light. Vacancy. Open 24/7. He rang the doorbell. Come to see if I can get a room. Look him down, look him up, smell, look at his arms, get. We don't need your kind here. You just a drifter, a panhandler. Bum. Get. Don't make me call the cops. He just again smiled. Okay, thank you. He turned around, walk off with a smile. He tried all over that town to get a room. Even a motel. They met him at the door. You stink. You're filthy. You're a bum and a beggar. Get. Don't come back. And for damn sure, don't make me call the cops on you. And again, he smiled. Thank you, sorry to bother you. Turned, walk off. Well, he decided that nobody was going to give him a room because of the way he was dressed and the way those bandages were smelling. So, as he walked through town, he seen a sign, a small little bitty sign. Elevator. Well, being a farm person, he figured they probably had some feed sacks down there, maybe had some holes in them. But he's going to have to find him some place to sleep. He's tired. He'd walked so much he had blisters on his feet. And because of what was wrong with him, his feet, he was walking on the outer edges of his feet like this. Well, it played a lot of hell with his legs, and he'd put many a mile on him legs. So he walked on down toward the elevator, and it was a little bitty small mom and pop elevator. Well, he spotted a dumpster. He walked over there and raised that dumpster lid and looked in there, and well, lo and behold, that whole dumpster was full of burlap sacks, feed sacks. Now, you don't see those much anymore. Nowadays, they're made out of some kind of like a plastic. But this elevator had some burlap sacks. Burlap was always the best feed sacks. I don't care. They can say what they want to about paper and plastic. But that burlap was the best. That shit could take a beating. And lasted a hell of a lot longer. Well, he dug through there. And as he's finding these burlap sacks, and when he gets a big giant bundle of them, he pokes them all down into one. He sets that one out there, and he grabs another one and starts filling it up. Next thing you know, he got 5 or 6 of them plumb full of these burlap feed sacks. Well, he found some old string in there, tied them together, and slung them over his shoulder like a bag of potatoes. And even though he's hurting, he managed to go on up the street a few blocks, and he come to a real narrow alley between these buildings. Well, it was barely big enough for a trash truck to go through there, and it was kind of dark. That'd be a good place to sleep. So, he looked for a nice spot to make a bed. If you know anything about these old farmers, they always carry a pocket knife of some sort. And he wasn't no different. He got that old pocket knife out and went to work on them bags. Made him a nice little cushion to lay on. Even took some of them, put them on top of each other, rolled them up for a pillow. Now, growing up as a farm kid, he loved to smell them burlap sacks. They have a distinctive smell. Well, the rest of those, he used to lay on top of and make several layers so he'd stay warm at night. He finally got all that done, and he put his pocket knife away, and as soon as he laid down, put his head on that burlap sack, boom, he was out like a light. Well, he's only asleep a few hours, and he hears a sound. Here comes a siren, ripping down Main Street. All of a sudden, the sirens stop. They're still going, but the vehicle stopped. Made the left-hand turn, went down a half a block, made another left-hand turn. Now the lights are shining on old Lazarus laying there, sleeping, trying to, but now he's awake. Cop turns the spotlight, puts it on him, locks it in place, gets out and grabs his hat, puts it on, walks up there, and he's got his hand on his service weapon, and he goes, "Sir?" Lazarus kind of pulls the burlap back and got his hand up because the light blinded him. "Sir, you can't be sleeping here." He goes, "I've tried every place in town, and they called me a bum, which that's fine. They wouldn't give me a room." And he said, "I got money. Money's no problem." "Well, sir, you can't sleep here." He goes, "But sir, you don't understand. I have money. They won't give me a room." He goes, well, you had anything to eat? And he goes, not since yesterday. He said, well, why don't you're not under arrest. I'm not going to harm you. You're not going to be cuffed, taken in. But we got to get you off this street. Let's get in the car. What's your name? He said, my name is Lazarus, sir. My mama gave me that name. He said, well, Lazarus, will you please trust me and get in the car with me? He said, sir, are you sure? The officer goes, yeah, I wouldn't have offered if I didn't mean it. He goes, I haven't changed the bandages on my arms in 3 days. He said, there wasn't no place open for me to get any bandages or anything. He goes, that's all right. Can you get up or do you need help? He goes, I could use a hand. Well, he pulled them burlap sacks off, and I ain't kidding you. The smell must have been horrendous, not of just body odor, but of these rotting sores. Well, the cop did his best not to show the smell was in the air. He grabbed Lazarus by the arm and around the back and helped him up. He said, Lazarus, let's go get you something to eat. So he helped him to the passenger side and opened the door for him. And as Lazarus was getting in, he said, thank you very much, sir. I didn't mean to be a problem. He goes, you ain't no problem. So he walks around the car and gets in, and he turns the lights off and turns the spotlight off and put the car in reverse, and they pulled out there, and he headed on down to the service station that stayed open all night, and it was a convenience store. Pulled in there, and he said, don't worry about it, it's on me. Lazarus goes, I got money. He goes, no, it's on me. Now, this was a good guy, a good cop. So his whole plan was what most cops would do if they was nice. He was going to take him in, get him something to eat, get him something to drink, and sit there and have a conversation with him, trying to figure this guy out. Why is he down on his luck? If he's got money, how'd he get money? Well, they walk in, and the owner of the place was in there, and she goes, hello, gentlemen. How you doing? Cop called her by name. He said, doing pretty good tonight. She goes, see, you got a partner there. Yeah, he said, me and him's friends. She said, well, that's good to hear. She said, I made a fresh pot of coffee over there. I got your favorite donuts and your favorite sandwiches. Cop just kind of nodded and smiled, and they headed over there and got him some sandwiches and went down to the coffee pot, got some coffee, and they sat there at that little table. The cop looked at him and he goes, so, Lazarus, what brings you to my town? He goes, you sure you won't laugh at me? As he's smiling and eating. No, sir, Lazarus, I won't laugh at you. I'd like to hear the story. Well, Lazarus told him. Then he comes to the part about when he was in and out of consciousness, and he started having these visions of this town. He said, well, you didn't come here to do any harm, did you? No, he said, I don't know what I'm really here for, or just, I seen this town. My wife left me and took the kids. I got people taking care of the farm. He said, but other than that, nobody cared for me. I come here, I want to see if there's any good people left. People that are like me, for me, not for my money. He said, up home, there's some good people, but it's mainly because of who my parents were and the money that I have. So, I'm going to start over. Cop says, well, that sounds pretty reasonable. Fresh town, fresh start. Sounds good to me. He goes, well, first, Lazarus, I'm sorry, but I can't let you sleep in the street. You seem like a good man. That's because I ain't never done nobody no harm. Don't ever intend to. I just want to know if the human race has gone so far bad that it can't be salvaged. That's my quest. He said, well, don't know how to answer that. He said, there's good and bad. Lazarus just kind of laughed as he was eating. He goes, well, why don't we do this here? I got a friend, personal friend, has another boarding place. Now, it's above a bar, but it's a clean place. These are good people. They don't own the bar downstairs. Somebody else owns that. Sounds good. Beats sleeping in the street. So, they get done and pay for everything, and he thanks the lady for letting him come in and eat. He goes, but first, Lazarus, we got to run to this store that stays open all night. And he said, we got to get you some medicines and stuff, creams and some wrap and some tape, so you can keep them taken care of, and you need to see a doctor. Well, they get everything he needs at the store and head for the boarding place, and Lazarus ain't holding out no that these people are going to let him stay there. But the cop said, they're friends of mine. Well, they get to the place and go in, and the lady goes, I want to help this guy out because you say he's okay. We known each other for a long time. I owe you a favor. Cop goes, you don't owe me no favors. That's what friends do for each other, but need to find a room for Lazarus here. He's going to get killed out there on that damn street. If he don't get a place here to stay, I'm going to have to put him up in a jail, and that just ain't good. They said, well, I do got one room that we've been working on. It's not a bedroom, though. It's just a big, giant pantry. It's about a 6-foot wide, a 10-foot long room. But I'm supposing we could probably turn that into a bedroom real quick like. It ain't all finished yet. But at least it's a room. It's a roof over your head. We have a bed we can put in there. A little nightstand. But it's not perfect. He said, well, the street wasn't perfect either. But officer here says I can't sleep out there, and I'd rather sleep in a room. She said, well, if you don't mind, that's the only room I got available. He said, that'd be fine. So she took him in there and showed him the room, and suited him just fine. He wasn't picky. She goes, now, I don't mean to be mean, but she said, come on with me down the hallway here. This here's the bathroom. with a shower and a bathtub, sink there and toilet there. So there's brand new towels in here, in these drawers. And she didn't get smart about it or be mean about it. She was just direct. And she said, if you would like, why don't you go ahead and take a shower and while we're getting your bed put together in there. He didn't hesitate or say nothing. He just kind of smiled. I could sure use one. So he took his bag in there, and while he's in there showering and getting his wounds taped up, they're putting that bed together for him. The cop was even helping. He was on duty. He was helping put this bed together so this guy would be safe that night. But he had his radio with him just in case he had to leave. Well, when old Lazarus got done showering, changed his bandages, and they had the bed ready and the linens ready and the pillow, and they took him down there and said, it's only a twin bed. Oh, he said, I've slept in worse. I was getting ready to sleep in worse. He said, suit me just fine. They said, well, you probably want to get some sleep. He said, what about I got my dirty clothes right here, and he said, they smell pretty bad. But she reached down there and picked them up. She didn't sit there and go, ooh. No, she just reached down there and picked them up. She goes, you got everything out of there? I'll wash these while you're sleeping. They'll be clean for tomorrow. She goes, you want to give me the clothes out of that bag there, and I'll take them with me, and that way you got all brand new clean clothes. Well, he was amazed. He fished through there and got the clothes out of there, and she took them, and he went to bed. Well, cop told her, he said, if you have any problems, just call me, let me know. And he goes, when he wakes up, give him this card. That's my personal phone number, and that's my work number, too. If he has any problem, just tell him to show that card. She goes, I'll tell him. Well, cop said, I better get back to patrolling. They'll dock my pay. She just kind of laughed. She goes, you go and get out of here and take care of yourself. Well, the cop leaves. Old Lazarus is in there, sound asleep, like a little fat pup. Well, next morning he wakes up early. He comes out of his room and goes in there to the bathroom, takes care of stuff, and he gets done. He comes out of the bathroom, puts his cap on. He goes, ma'am, he said, you guys serve breakfast here too? She goes, well, we have a continental breakfast, but that's about it. That's no problem. He said, I sure like to have some bacon and eggs. She goes, well, if you go down the street up here, there's a place up there you might check. There's several places here in town that has country cooking. So he starts at the door, and by the time he gets to the door, he says, hey, I will be back. She goes, well, you better. Your clothes and stuff are still here. He had kind of laughed and headed on up the street, go get him some bacon and eggs, maybe some milk gravy. He's walking, and he comes to the first restaurant. He's looking in the window and smelled real deep. Oh, man, it smelled good. It smelled like fresh country cooking. So after watching and smelling for a few minutes, he went to open the door, and the person in there working come out there to that door, and it's like, get. Just Bum, get. I got money. Get. We refuse to serve you. Get. He just smiled and dropped his head and said, okay. He went up to the next restaurant. Same damn thing. But he remembered that gas station. So, he headed south. When that gas station, the lady was in there that from last night. She was in there taking inventory. The attendant said, hello. Well, that lady that was taking inventory turned around, she goes, you was in here last night, wasn't you? He goes, yeah. She goes, if there's anything you can't find, you let me know. And said, that table is clean, I just washed it. He just kind of smiled, and his day got a little better. So he goes and gets him some stuff and pays for it, and he goes back there and sits. He's back there eating. Well, she gets done doing her inventorying, and she grabs her a soda and heads back there, and she goes, you mind if I sit with you? No, ma'am. She pulls that seat and sat there, and so, how you finding this little town? Well, now, after what he had just been through, he still didn't say nothing. He just in there smiling. He goes, I like this town. She goes, people are a little different. Oh, it's there, okay. Even after what just happened to him. She goes, you're welcome here anytime you want to come here. Day or night, we're open 24/7. Feel free to come down here any hour of the night or day. You're always welcome here. If you have a problem with anybody here, you let me know, because I'm the owner of this establishment. My people don't treat people bad. Thank you, ma'am. When he got done, he shook her hand and he said, I'll be back. He didn't say why he'd be back. He just said he'd be back. That's what happened to them restaurants. So that's where he was going to do his business. Well, he heads out the door and heads up the street. He'd walk up one street all the way to the end of town, cut over, come down that street, just looking the place over. He wasn't doing nothing, just looking around. He'd heard many conversations on that walk. Well, he'd heard about this little soapbox derby car that was broke, and the kid was whining that, can't we fix it? No, it's trash. We're going to put it out for trash. He kind of listened as he didn't stop. He just kept walking and listening. He took note where that place was. Well, after doing his walking, he headed back up to his room. Well, the lady was there, and she had his clean clothes. She said, hey, I got your clean clothes for you. He said, well, thanks. How much I owe you? Ah, don't owe me nothing. He goes, where might I get some tools at? She goes, you want to borrow some tools, or you want to buy some tools? Whichever's closer. She goes, we have tools, and use them anytime you want to. Whenever you're done, put them back. He goes, where would that be? And she goes, right around the corner here. There's not a door there. Just as you need them, go get them. When you're done, just put them back. Anytime you need them. Thank you. Well, comes evening, and he's in his room resting. He gets up and starts to leave. I'll be back. Okay. Well, as he's getting ready to walk out that door, one of the people that lives above up there comes outside. Is your name Lazarus? Yes, sir. Hey, we just moved in. Me and my wife, we don't have no kids. We had to have a wagon to put our stuff in to get it upstairs. Do you have any use for a wagon, or you know any kids that might need a wagon? He goes, I could use a wagon. How much you want for it? Nothing. Brand new. We used to do one time take our stuff upstairs. Take it up the stairs, carry it, the wagon, pull it up there, and you can have it. Thanks. So he looks that little red flyer wagon over and got little side racks on it, little wooden racks. He heads up the street. Go get him something to eat at that gas station. Well, while he's in there eating, that little wagon's out there inside the building. He's watching. She's like, nobody bother or anything. What you keep looking at? He goes, I got my wagon I just got given to me. She says, what you gonna do with a wagon? He said, haul stuff in it. Well, he gets done eating, and it's still kind of early, so he heads back up there to his room. He's got his little red wagon in the bedroom with him. Well, he's so proud of that thing. Pretty bright red and white lettering on it. Well, he falls asleep for a while. He wakes up, can't sleep, kind of restless. So he goes around the corner and gets some tools, and what do you think he'd need? Just some odds and end tools. Puts them in that little wagon, and out the door and down the street he goes. Well, he remembered what that car was, that soapbox derby car. For anybody that don't know what that is, it's a car, and it don't have pedals or anything like that. They would start them on a hill, and they'd have a wooden deal underneath of it that would drop down, let the car wheels hit the ground, and go down the hill. It went by force of hill. Well, he'd made it to the street where this little car was at, broke, and out there by the curb. But he'd remembered that little boy just having a fit because his car was broke, and they wasn't going to fix it. They was going to put it out for trash and get rid of the trash. Well, it was sitting there on the sidewalk. So he pulled his little red wagon up there, and he went to work on that thing. He worked quite a little while with them tools and on that little soapbox derby car. When he got her done, he pushed the car back inside the yard, just off the sidewalk there, took the trash sign, stuck it on there, got a little piece of cardboard out of his pocket that he found somewhere along the way, took his crayon out, he wrote on there, Santa Claus fixed it, stuck it there on the steering wheel. He loaded his tools up, down the road he went. Well, eventually he made it back to his room, and he went on around the corner and put the tools all the way, wiped them down, put them up. He went back to his room, went to sleep. Well, next day he's out, walking around. He stopped at the gas station, got him something to eat. They was like, where are you off to today? He said, you never know. Wherever the open road takes me. They said, well, you ain't leaving town, are you? And he goes, oh, no. Just going sightseeing. So when he got done eating, he grabbed his little wagon outside, and up the road he goes. Well, here's another conversation when he's walking. Little girl, little blonde-headed girl with pigtails, got this little bitty bike with a basket, little flares off the handlebars, a little pixies, whatever you want to call it. The chain's broke on that bicycle. He's walking real slow and listening. She's just throwing a fit, and her dad's at work, and her mom's like, I can't fix it. You're just going to have to wait. I don't know what you're going to do until then, but we ain't going to get another bike. Well, the little girl goes in crying. He looks around and he remembers that street. So he waits to the cover of darkness, put some more tools in his little red flyer wagon, late at night, and the road he goes. He walks till he finds that street. Then he comes to the house, and there's that little bicycle out there. Little basket on the front, training wheels on it, chain hanging off. So, Lazarus got the tools he needed and pulled it over to the sidewalk, went to work on her. When he got done with it, he put his tools away in his little red wagon and pushed that little bicycle up there just out of the way of the steps. Took out a little piece of cardboard and wrote on it with his crayon. Santa Claus fixed it. Put that there in that basket there. But they'd be sure to find it. Down the street he went. Headed back to go to sleep. When he got back, he put tools away and went to his room. In his little red wagon and went to sleep. Well, the next day he gets up. He heads out, heading toward the gas station. There was these damn boys had nothing better to do, spoiled brats, knuckleheads. They seen Lazarus walking with his little wagon, and they started making cracks. Lazarus just kept walking and trying to ignore them. They'd been eating. They had wrappers and bags and cups where they had their sodas in it, and they started throwing stuff at him as they went by. Lazarus didn't say nothing. Well, they went around the block, and when they come back, they started throwing rocks. Lazarus still didn't say nothing. He got hit several times, back, in the arm, chest. Fell to the ground. Skinned his hands and arms up. He still didn't say nothing back, and he didn't bother the boys. Well, cop happened to see it, and he turned in, and them boys scattered. The cop got out, and he said, "You all right, Lazarus?" "I'm okay." He said, "Come on, let's get you up, and get you upright anyway, and I'll give you a ride back home." He said, No, I got my wagon." He goes, "You sure?" He goes, "I can put your wagon in the back seat." And he goes, "No, I'm okay." The cop said, "Okay." Well, Lazarus went back home. Next day, same thing. People go by hollering stuff, throwing stuff at him, cussing him. He just keep on going. Well, he'd been all over town fixing things. Mowers, weed eaters, brush cutters. You name it, he'd fix it. It would make it if it was toys or what it was. And he was still getting cussings. You know how people are. Well, the rumor mill started getting started. Next thing you know, they said he'd run around at nighttime, he was window peeking and doing all kinds of crazy, meanness stuff, you know. He was not doing none of the sort. Well, his friend the cop come down and talked to him, and he said, Lazarus, I ain't accusing you of nothing, but he said, you know what the rumor mill's going? He goes, I have no clue. He goes, well, they're saying you're window peeking, you're doing this, and you're doing that. No, sir. I do run around and fix things that need to be fixing, but I don't steal, and I ain't no window peeker, and I ain't harmed nobody. Why would I want to? He goes, well, that's all I need to know. He said, I just letting you know, and he said, I'll put a stop to the rumors. But just so you know, it's okay. Well, he goes on down about his merry way. Well, these people can't keep their mouths shut, and they just keep the rumor mill going. Even after they've been warned by the cop, leave that old man alone. He was even picking up aluminum cans and bottles that he found that was trashing up the city. And he put them in those burlap bags in his little wagon, and he'd take them down to the recycle center, collect a little change on them. Not that he needed it, but he was doing a service. He was cleaning up the city, getting rid of the messes that people was leaving, and making a little change on the side. You would see him down at that there place, down at recycle center. He'd be standing there. There'd be a car in front of him. There'd be him in his red wagon with these bags stacked up, and another car behind him. He was standing there like a car. Well, when it come time to his turn to empty his bags, they emptied them, weighed them, and gave him a little ticket, and he'd go around to the front, take that ticket in there, and they'd give him cash. He'd be on his way. Well, a few years have passed, and it's getting around winter time, so he asked the cop one day, he said, if I give you the money, you think you could go get me a heavy coat and a stocking cap? He said, I want an orange one, that way people could see me coming. They won't run over me. Sure. So the cop went and got him a real heavy-duty Carhartt coat and red stocking cap, and had the ear flap that come down and tie under his chin, had a big old ball on the top, bright orange. When he'd be walking and that wind be blowing, that ball would be up there and it'd be going back and forth. Looked like it was waving at people. If that'd be good enough, they'd be able to see me now. He said, if you check them pockets, there's a pair of gloves in there too. Well, as it got toward winter, Lazarus broke out the coat and the hat and the gloves. Still doing his thing at nighttime. Well, come that winter, and there was a surprise blizzard coming. It was announced all over town, and you seen the salt trucks getting ready, and people was talking about it. But it was fairly nice for being winter that day. Old Lazarus took off with his tools, and he was going around town fixing things for free. Well, for whatever reason, he stayed out till late, and next thing you know, this storm comes in, and old Lazarus is out there now caught in that storm, and he's been getting a little bit worse, but he's been fighting it. Well, the sleet started coming and the snow, and it started piling in. You couldn't hardly see. Well, he'd walk until he damn near froze to death. I mean, he's just soaking wet. And he sees this porch light on, and he knocks on the door. This lady answers the door. You just get out of here, bum. Get. Don't make me call the cops. Yes, ma'am. He goes on down the street, sees another porch light on, and now he'd fixed them people's stuff. He knocked on that door and get. bum you get. You're no better than a rat. Get. Don't make me call the cops. So he's traveling on, trying to get back home. He's on the other side of town walking with his little red wagon. Well, he's running out of steam fast, and he knows it's the end of the road for him. So he heads back toward and finds a small alley, and he can't go no further. He knows that death's knocking on his door. So he takes everything out of his wagon and pours it out there beside his wagon, and takes them burlap sacks, the few that he has, and makes a little bed there, and he climbs up in that wagon. Takes a few burlap sacks left over and starts covering himself up, and he's laying there on that little wagon. Well, the snow is piling on him, and next thing you know, death wasn't just knocking anymore. It come and took old Lazarus. Well, the next morning the sun come out, the blizzard passed on. They got a call that Lazarus hadn't come home. So the cop went in his own personal vehicle, looking, checking the streets. He finally found old Lazarus. There he was, on the little red wagon, legs hanging off, and laying on some burlap sacks, and covered up with some burlap sacks, and almost couldn't see him because the snow piled up on top of him. But when he pulled in there, he seen that ball covered with snow and seen that little orange hat, and he knew. When he seen that red wagon, that let him know that that was Lazarus. Well, he run up there hoping for a miracle that man survived. But Lazarus froze to death. Nobody knew he'd been sick again. He died right there in that street alone. The other thing that people didn't know is Lazarus had a lot of money, and he put a lot of money in that bank. And he made a deal with them not to tell, and they would have him come in the side about close time to do his banking. Keep it on the secret side, see? Well, the busybodies still couldn't leave a dead man alone. They was still squawking. He was window peeking. He was watching me take a shower. He was chasing a young girl. He wasn't doing nothing of the sort. He was just a harmless old man looking for a friend. Well, that cop had heard all he could stand of it there in that little service station. The lady said, "Now don't lose your temper." He goes, "No, it's time these busybodies be put in their place." He goes, "Hey, wasn't it your child's bicycle he fixed for free?" "Well, yeah, but..." "No, ain't no buts. He fixed it for free. He didn't charge you nothing for it. He didn't trespass into your yard. You need to learn to take care of your own business." The other lady goes, "Yeah, but I seen him window peeking in my yard." And he goes, "Ma'am, wasn't that your son's cart that he fixed? Did he charge you for it?" "No, he didn't." Pipe down. Y'all ever think about sweeping your own goddamn porch off before you try to sweep somebody else's? And with that, they left the service station. He goes, "Man," he said, I'm just tore up about old Lazarus." Guess he was right. Not many people give a damn for him. At least none of the good people. Just, yeah, but it's a shame that he come to this town alone and died alone. He goes, "Yeah, if I'd known, I'd have went and got him," but he said, "I had no clue." said, well, none of us did. It was his time to go. We can't be beating ourselves up about it. We just have to deal with the fact that Lazarus has finally went home. Well, come the day, Lazarus is getting ready to be laid for rest, and these two busybodies can't shut up. They just got to keep going on and on. Finally, the cop goes, hey, look, he had more money than you two ever thought about having. But did he brag about it? No. Y'all thought he was a bum? Check with the bank. That guy had more money than you ever thought about having. But he still didn't ask you for nothing. You know that he paid for his own tombstone? He paid for his own funeral. He paid for the morgue to get him ready for the funeral. He paid for his own spot. Well, the day of the funeral, I remember it. There was only about 5 or 6 of us there. But we stayed for the whole service because it was bad that he died alone. He froze to death. But he sure in hell wasn't going to be sent off alone. If any of us would have known, we'd have went and found that old man, but nobody knew. So after the funeral, we all said our goodbyes. And I sometimes think about Lazarus. He was just a good feller that just had a string of bad luck and bad assholes around him. But you know, even to this day in that town, even Lazarus has been dead for years. There's still a little boy or a little girl that has a toy or something broke, and the mom and dad puts that there for the trash, and Lazarus' ghost comes along, and you'll see that little red wagon and him coming up the road late at night. Get tools out and be working on it. There was even one lady that come forward and said that one time, late at night, she was coming home from work, and she had a flat tire right there on Main Street. With a flat tire, he helped push that car off to the side of the road, asked her to pop the trunk. He got the jack out, jacked up that car, took the tire off of it, put it on his wagon, pulled it up the street about 4 or 5 blocks, got the tire fixed, put it back on his wagon. He paid for it himself, took the wagon with the tire back up to that lady, put the tire back on, put the jack away, and the 4-way away, and she goes, how much do I owe you, sir? He goes, there wasn't no charge on it. They didn't charge me nothing for it. She goes, well, I gotta pay you something. He goes, no, you don't. I don't need nothing. And sent her on her merry way. Never harmed her, never flirted, never tried to pull any funny shit. He'd come to that town to help people. He was like a guardian angel that flew in from parts unknown. Do you know that he set it up that if anything ever happened to him, this town, when there was somebody that needed a pair of shoes or needed a pair of clothes or needed their books to be paid for because they were down and out, he set up a fund. And this town is still using this fund. That's how much money he had. And like I said, you will see his ghost late at night, walking around fixing things, just like he did when he was alive. These people were so damn rude, they don't even have a sign up nowhere or nothing to show any kind of gratitude for what he'd done for that town, and is still doing for that town. But that's the way people are. So there's my story. It's a true story about Lazarus, and yes, I did know the man. and everybody in this story is true people. Lazarus is buried in that town in one of those cemeteries. I ain't even gonna give the name of the town because, personally, after what they done to Lazarus, they ain't worthy to appear here, nor are their names. Lazarus' name deserves to be here. That man was a walking, living saint. He was a blessing to that little town, and they turned around and spit on him. So you remember that when you see somebody walking around that may not be dressed as fancy as you or anybody else, it don't mean they ain't human. They should be treated with a little bit of dignity. Think about that. But his ghost still does, I would say, haunt that town. But that I don't think that would be the right word. And since nobody paid tribute to that man, this is my way of paying tribute to him, because I couldn't do any more for him. I couldn't find him. I didn't know. Had I known, I'd have went and found the man. Maybe he'd have been alive today, who knows. But he's still out there walking them streets with that wagon and them tools. You ever figure out where this place is at, drive around at nighttime there. You'll come across him, pulling that little wagon with his tools, fixing things, trying to help somebody out, maybe a lady that's broke down, maybe a man that's broke down. But you can bet your ass on this, that he's out there helping somebody right now, or fixing some toy or something. Still trying to help out a town that didn't want him. Imagine that. You talking about a miracle? There's your miracle. This is Henry. I'm going to say goodnight, and just thought I'd bring that little story about Lazarus. Wherever he goes to rest, it's a lot better place than what the rest of us have. He's one of the people that kind of touched my heart, and I just want to pay tribute to him. Wherever you're at, Lazarus, thank you. Glad to have met you. Y'all take care and try to be good to one another. I know sometimes it's a pain in the ass, but give it a try. It don't cost nothing. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Good night.